Happy Halloween! And what says Halloween more than bones? Nothing. So today, I'm going to be rating these crappy Halloween decorations that you may have seen around a Target, Michael's, Joann Fabrics, Hobby Lobby, whatever craft stores, or even just general stores you go to. A lot of these are very anatomically inaccurate to make them easier to recognize for the layman. And although this is pretty okay, I would just like to kind of poke a bit of fun at them. Because, let's face it, bone ears and bone noses are hilarious. You don't see these on my skull. I don't have any bone ears. I don't have a bone nose. So why do we do it to animals? Besides, accuracy and making them look more like the animal. There's probably a better way to do that, but I don't decorate these things. How am I supposed to know that? Anyways, let's get on right to it. I will put the decoration here in the actual skull or skeleton reference I'm using here. Here we go! Alright, so the first one is this dog. Now, yeah, I know, ear bones, ear nose, that's the first thing I would like to point out. But the second thing I would like to point out is the fact that the humerus and femur of the dog, which that would be the upper extremity bone, it looks like they're trying to separate it into two separate bones, more like the ulna and the radius of the forearm, or the fibula and the tibia of the leg. This isn't accurate. That's not what dog bones look like. They have just one bone there, and then the two bones, and then it goes into the metacarpals. I don't know why they did that. That's bizarre. That makes it even less recognizable as an animal skeleton. I don't understand. I'm not the average consumer, but I think the average consumer would kind of be aware of the fact that, that's not how bones are in human skeletons. You don't see the upper arm having two bones together. Well, the forearm does, and we know that, but the upper arm, no, that's not how it is. Also, this head seems really misshapen in general. It's too, broad. Most things like a dog skull, they're going to start out kind of wide and then kind of taper downwards. This one doesn't seem to taper well, it's just shaped more like a rectangle. So yeah, not the best depiction of a dog skeleton. I don't have any dog bones. I do have a dog femur, not with me right now, but I'm going to throw a picture of my personal dog femur from my collection, we'll put that over here. And as you can see, that's not two separate bones, that's just one dog bone. Moving on, I don't want to look at this thing anymore. Next is the cat, and I really hate this one for a lot of reasons. Besides bone ears, bone nose, blah blah blah. I know, but the skull doesn't really look very cat-like. If you've ever seen a cat's head, I have a lot of cats, so I look at their little cute cat faces a lot. If you've ever seen a cat's head, it is wider on the top, and again, it tapers down into almost a narrow point at the bottom. Their bottom jaws are very thin. So this one just looks like a big kind of blocky-headed cat, and that doesn't look very cat-like at all to me. Even if we wanted to do the good old method of just slap some ears on stuff, if you took an actual cat skull and you just slap some fake ears on it, that looks way more cat-like than this thing. What is this? I don't know. I don't like this one at all. It doesn't read cat to me, and it's supposed to. Now again, I'm not the average consumer of these things, seeing as I collect actual bones, but come on. If I'm the one saying this doesn't look cat-like, and I look at cats all day, I think that should be pretty telling that it's not very cat-like. next we're gonna look at one that makes me laugh, and this is the spider one. If you are wondering why there's no image over here, that's because spiders don't have skeletons. They don't really have bones as traditional animals do. So this is automatically very, very wrong. Even if they did have bones, and I'm not an expert on spiders, but this is my opinion, I don't think they'd have like a rib cage around the butt of the spider. I forgot what that part is called. I know it's not the thorax, so I'm going to call it the butt of the spider, but that's not going to just be a solid rib cage. The teeth look pretty okay. The skull does look a little inaccurate, though. Spiders have a lot of eyes. They have like 8 of them, I think, or most of them. I don't know, some spiders might have less eyes, some might have more eyes, but either way, the number of eyes isn't accurate. It's only got 2 eye holes, which for most animals is completely acceptable, but for spiders, they have more eye holes. They're known for that. Or I guess they would if they had skulls, but we don't really care about the realism in making these little crappy things, do we? The legs, I guess if a spider had legs, they'd kind of look like that. So the theoretical skeleton of this guy isn't too bad, but only if we don't think about it too much. Well, it's still bad, but if we look at the legs, it's okay. If we ignore everything else and just look at those, it's fine. But if we actually do a little bit of critical thinking, we realize it's not. Okay, I love owls, and this is disgraceful. Owl bones actually look really funny. They look more chicken-like than owl-like. This does look very owl-like, though it also looks quite angry. No, I guess I can't comment on that. I also look quite angry, but that's because my skull has defined brow bones, and I don't know why the jaw is defined. That's kind of weirder with the jaw. Well, I guess the mandible's kind of defined, but it's more the maxilla up here that is. Anyways, not the point. The point is, yeah, I guess it looks like an owl, but it also kind of sucks. Look at those wing bones. Why does it have wing bones? Birds don't have bones in each individual feather. Imagine you pick up a feather from the outside and it decays at some point or whatever, which, probably not too likely, I guess, if you're preserving the feather, but imagine you're just left with this little tiny little bone where it's just a completely flat bone in the shape of a feather. It'd be ridiculous. Plus, this wouldn't really get owls off the ground if they had bones in their feathers. Birds have super, super thin bones with holes in them. All bones have holes in them, but birds have more holes in them. In order to actually get them a bit of lift off, and even then, they don't have a lot of bones. It's more kind of like our actual arm bones, and just a little long and bird-shaped. But this is just, what is this? I don't know, and that ribcage seems a little long. Maybe that's just me, but it just doesn't look... Everything about this one looks off. Even the talons are way too big. Here's a favorite Halloween classic, the bat skeleton. The lower body doesn't seem too bad, besides, again, I think the ribcage is a little long. The wings, bigger than what an actual bat wing would look like, but I guess if you want to make a marketable skeleton, you can't have, super little piggy little bones in the wings, because they'll break too easily, so I guess I can ignore that point, but man, that skull. It's a shame. Bat skulls actually look really freaky. Look at this. This guy barely has eye holes. And bat skulls do have a lot of variation in them. Some look more like dog skulls. Here's a flying fox skull, for example, but man, normal bat skulls are freaking creepy. And they don't have stupid little ear bones. So I think if we just took a like this bat skull, slapped it on a body, that'd be way more scary than whatever this is, but, you know, it doesn't look bat-like enough, so we can't have that. Consumers gotta know it's a bat. They won't know it's a bat by the obviously bat-like body. No, it's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. We can't have realism here. Here's a fish skeleton. I think it's supposed to be a piranha, because piranhas are spooky and like flesh-eating fish, but this thing is a tube of ribs. Also, those fin bones are not very accurate. Fish do kind of have bones that arch up a little bit like that, but they don't look like that at all. They're a lot more delicate looking. They just don't look like a calcified actual fish. I mean, this looks very fish-like, but so do actual fish skeletons. I don't see why you couldn't make it look more like an actual fish skeleton. Plus, most like fish skeletons you see in the trash cans in cartoons, they don't really have fin bones. They just look like head, some ribs, and then, you know, it's not a tube of ribs either. It's just like those little kind of flatter ribs, which is a bit more accurate. Fish do have kind of flatter ribs, though they can be a little tube-like looking depending on the angle, just not really to that extent. Fish are weird. It really depends on the type of fish you're looking at what its skeleton will look like, but I guess I could say that for a lot of species, like, you know, dogs, but yeah, it looks like a fish, but also kind of not really. Just looks like you did a little more than necessary to depict its fishiness. Do I even need to comment on this one? Again, octopi don't have a traditional skull or skeleton, but do I really need to go into why this is so wrong? It's, first of all, it's got a ribcage on its head. If an octopus had a skull, it wouldn't look like that. It would probably be a lot more rounded or even oblong shaped. The leggies here appear to be like little spines, which I suppose if it's an octopus and it's wiggly, it probably would look more like little spines as opposed to little legs, but I don't think I can even give this one credit. Who is decorating with, like, an octopus skeleton? Like, I could see, like, bats, because it's a classic Halloween image. I could see cats, dogs, because those are pets. I could see owls. Those are also kind of classic Halloween images, but, like, an octopus? Why are you decorating your Halloween haunted house with an octopus? That is just bizarre. Is it underwater? Do you have a bunch of piranha skeletons from the last one? And you know, want to shake it up a little bit, so you throw an octopus in there? Like, I don't know what. This is just bizarre. I don't like it. It freaks me out. I mean, it looks like an octopus, but that's because, like, what else looks like that in the animal kingdom? Besides a squid, which I guess most people aren't going to really know the difference between a squid and an octopus either. I mean, I barely do. But that's because I don't really study those animals, because they don't have bones. So why would I do that if they don't have bones? Anyways, this one sucks. Let's move on. This is a rat. First of all, I would like to point out its tail looks like a single human rib. I know what a human rib looks like because I have touched many human ribs. I'm not a serial killer. I study medical science. So, no, I guess those aren't technically mutually exclusive. I still haven't killed anyone. This was a cadaver at my college. Not even really a cadaver, it was just like some bones in my college that we had to use for a lab practical. And it was fun pointing out the structures on different bones. Yes, different bones have different structures, as I mentioned in my previous video about fusing the epiphysis to the diaphysis in juvenile animals, which, if you don't know what that means, join the club. No one does, but if you want to see that video, I'm going to put like a little thingy in the corner for you to go watch it. But Anyways, what a real rat bone looks like, or what a real rat skull looks like, it would be, this little guy that's apparently cannot get into the camera. Anyways, this is what a more accurate rat skeleton would look like. Or rat skull, not skeleton. I have the rest of its bones, but it's in a little plastic baggie, so there's its, those are its teeth. We've got some long bones in its pelvis, and then miscellaneous ribs, other stuff. Its jaws are in there too. But the skull, I think this looks more rat-like. It's got big old rat teeth. That one really didn't have the teeth we associate with rats. And this isn't technically a rat, it's a mouse. But rats and mice have very similar skulls, so I still think it was a good comparison to use. But I think if you slapped that on that little skeleton of the rat and make the tail look less like a human rib, it would actually be a pretty decent skeleton. We're back to seeing my beautiful face and a less beautiful frog skeleton. This is honestly one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It looks... Oh my god, I don't think I need to tell you everything wrong with this one, but I'm gonna do it anyways. Head bone. Yep. Skulls are head bones. They're technically multiple head bones that are fused together if you look at the sutures on bones, which... That's not visible in my big skull because, again, dumb consumer won't notice, but, you know, I'm a dumb consumer, so it's not that I didn't notice, I just didn't really care. I just wanted a little skull mask, and this was probably the best one at the Spirit Halloween at the time I got it, so, you know, whatever. But, anyways, eye sockets, way too small. Have you seen the size of a frog's eye? That thing takes up, like, so much of its head. That's like if my eye sockets here were the size of, like, a little pinhead. Well, that wouldn't really work, would it? No, it wouldn't. Too many ribs. Way too many ribs. Frogs actually don't really have much of a skeleton, as you can see over here. Because frogs are basically like sentient gummy bears that just are able to launch themselves at food, and that is how they survived as long as they did. So, this one just looks hilarious to me. It's so bad, but so good at the same time. It's really just... I love this. I really do. It's beautiful. So beautiful. In such a horrible way. And last, but not least, we have this rabbit, if you can call it that, with too big of a head, too short of forearms, and a butt that looks more like a beehive. First of all, I'm going to comment once and for all on why the bone ears bother me. Ears don't have bone in them. Ears are made of cartilage. Cartilage is not the same as bone. Cartilage is squishier, and it's more flexible, which is why you can bend animal ears, and you can bend your own ears if you take your finger and you go like this. I don't have ears right now, so I can't do that. But if I did, I would demonstrate. Anyways, we all know how rabbit ears are floppy. If it was made of bone, it wouldn't be floppy. No, it'd be all stiff and weird. It's just... no, that head. Way too big. Rabbit skulls are supposed to look more like the rat skulls I showed you. They have really weird-looking skulls. It's not the cutest thing, it's not super rabbit-like, but it's what they look like. So why does this one just look like a deformed rabbit with, like, way too big of a head? Rabbit heads aren't that big. You've seen a rabbit, like, it's little teeny tiny. It's got these big old ears, teeny little head, big round body, and a tail that does not look like that. Rabbit tails don't look any differently than the tails of other creatures that have tails, like rats. Although the rat tail was a human rib, so we're going to ignore the rat. Anyways, like dogs or like cats, it's just shorter. It's not like a beehive. You don't touch a rabbit tail and feel like a beehive made of bone in there. No. It's a nice fluffy tail. It's just really short, kind of like those really, really floofy cats. You know, Mancoons, Siberians, Norwegian forest cats, those little guys that I love so much, yeah. It's gonna look like if one of those cats had its tail amputated. I don't think this one's worse than the frog. I just think it's like, the frog at least has like some comedic value to it. This just doesn't look funny. This just makes me sad. Like, this looks like a deformed bunny. I don't want to think about deformed bunnies on Halloween. That's not... No, it's just... No. I don't think a rabbit is the best subject to make a skeleton out of if you're trying to make it look like the actual animal, because rabbit skeletons look really freaky and they don't look like rabbits. They look like, you know, just deformed creatures that look more like a rat or a mouse. They don't look like rabbits, mainly because they don't have long ears. I think if you wanted to include the ears, you totally could do that for a lot of skeletons, but don't make them actual bone. Make them, like, out of a translucent material, so you can basically have the outer look of the animal while having an accurate skeleton on the inside. So you can properly and anatomically correctly depict these animals, besides the octopus and the spider, and still have people know what they are, because there's going to be that translucent, actual animal look on the outside. But of course, no one's going to do that. It's way too expensive. And we gotta sell these cheap plastic skeletons to the consumers of Halloween who want to have a pet graveyard in their little, exaggerated display thing. Although now it's not gonna matter, because 'tis the season of COVID-19 and we are stuck inside. Anyways, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, be curious about animal bones. Check out some of my other videos if you want to see more actual animal bones and less fake crappy target skeletons. I will see you all in the next video when I figure out what that video is going to be. Bye bye.